and welcome to the Revere Veterans and Community Show. Today I have a special guest. He's a veteran of the First Gulf War.
Yes.
Welcome. And you're also Director of Veteran Services in Chelsea, Mass. Welcome, Francisco Urena. Please, let us talk about the Veteran Services.
Sure.
Started.
Yes. Well, it's Francisco Toro. Urena is the secretary.
I forgot to mention your name.
It's okay.
You can court-martial me after the show.
No. My LinkedIn profile has benefited. When he was elected and appointed the Commissioner of Veteran Services, I all of a sudden on LinkedIn I got 200 congratulations on my new position. So now, I have a lot of connections now.
Well, let me make it 201, Francisco. Okay.
That's fine. But, talking a little bit about Veteran Services and what we do, of course, Nick, who's the
He's
director.
the Revere Veteran Service Director.
Yep, he's the Revere Veteran Service Director. He started about a year or so before me, and actually, while the Veteran Service Officer who was out before I got there, he actually handled Chelsea and Revere at one point.
Who was that?
Nick.
Oh, he handled both of them?
Yep. Yes, he did. He was, so he taught me a few of the tricks of the trade and got me, helped me get adjusted to the position. So, much thanks and hellos and greetings out to Nick in Revere. And then from there, we work together. I'm familiar with all the VSOs in the area, and we work to do the best we can to find solutions for the veterans. Some people say, "Oh, you tell them what to do when they do it," and it's not that. We try to provide some solutions, and then the veteran comes in and tries to choose what's available. One of the great things about Chapter 115, when I first went to the first training, is the history. How it first began in the late 1800s to deal with the widows, the disabled veterans from the Civil War, because Massachusetts was so heavily impacted during that campaign. And, to see that it has over 100 years of history and how it predates Social Security, and, talking with the other veteran service officers on how especially the great generation of the World War II veterans, how they opened so many doors for services, and how that impacted and molded how the Department of Veteran Services to this date provides services. When I first started, it was great to have a position where I can help veterans. But once I heard the history and all of the generations of veterans, how they had impacted and input so much into molding it into what we and many in other states refer to as the best veteran services in the country.
I have to tell you something. I have to interrupt you just for 1 minute. When I was in England a couple of years ago, the Big Ben clock?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
I haven't been there, but I've seen it on TV.
Right? Yeah, the one at the London Tower or the castle. Well, it's not moving. The Big Ben clock is not moving. So I thought maybe if someone out there could fix it, it would be nice. Okay.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's why I wanted to interrupt you just for 1 minute, because it brought back some memories with the guards. You were talking about have you ever been to England, by the way, friend?
No, not at all.
I want you to tell the people exactly the benefits that the Chelsea Veteran Services does for veterans, specifically, such as if they're homeless, if they need financial aid, if they're widows or spouses. Could you do that for us?
Absolutely. It's an extensive, one of the great things about the VSOs is that we have to do training 3 times a year, about a week each time. So they're a great resource for information. What do we offer? I think it's easier to say what we don't offer. First we're responsible for administering the Chapter 115 state veterans benefits.
What is Chapter 115?
Yep, and Chapter 115, refers obviously to the CMR, while it's mandated by the state as a program, it's administered on the local level. So each city in the Commonwealth, all 351 municipalities are responsible for having their own veteran service officer
You mean
represented.
every one of them has, there's 351 veteran service officers?
No, not necessarily. Some of the offices in smaller towns where
Take
there's
2 or 3?
yeah, you know, some towns only have 500 people, so you know you have one guy for covering, you know.
I
a
have to
small
ask you,
group.
I'm a veteran, I'm homeless, I live in Chelsea. I
Sure,
come
sure.
to see you. Tell us the procedure.
Well, homeless is one of the, you know, it's just a specific scenario.
Do you have any in Chelsea?
Mostly what we deal with are veterans, a lower income. Chapter 115, which is state veterans benefits, it's based on low income program, and it's sort of measured somewhat by the FPL, which is the federal poverty level. And I could get really sort of in depth with that.
Would you do that in case there's some veterans that just get out of the service and they?
Well, my first recommendation for any veteran who just got out of the service is get your discharge and bring it to your veteran service officer. And then the service officer will sit down and talk to them about, you know, what benefits they are eligible for. Usually when they come back, you know, they've been, especially if they've been abroad, any active duty person would be eligible for unemployment. They might be, you know, it's one of those opportunities where the veteran service officer sits down with the veteran and tries to figure out, you know, does this guy have a disability? One of the examples that I came across was one of the veterans who just the previous week he was on a convoy, and in the convoy there were 3 trucks, and he explained to me how the enemy combatants had destroyed the first truck, destroyed the last truck to box in all the trucks inside in the middle. And, you know, and I said, well, you know, what's that thing on your arm? And I says, well, you know, when the trucks hit, our truck rolled over and he got injured where the truck was, you know, on his arm. So when he got to his, you know, final duty station, or back to the base, better said, they said, look, we can look into this, we can look into that, but you're not going to be able to go home for probably 2 or 3 weeks. And he says, no, I'm fine. And he just wrapped it up and he came back. So there he is, like 5 or 6 days later, after he had a major engagement, holding his arm. And, you know, you have to sit down with him and ask him, you know, what's going on. And once he told me, I says, you know what, you need to go to the VA. You need to get checked out. You know, I'm all for veterans being tough and you know, that's great, but, you know, that's something that could have long-term impact on your daily quality of life. So, you know, get that checked out. If I started talking about all the specific scenarios.
You know, but you came up with a terrific idea, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is? Could I tell you?
Sure.
They have now driverless cars. I bet you in the future they're going to have driverless trucks in the military. Like you said, if they go for the first and the last, well, the first is the worst one,
Sure,
because
sure.
they'll have a driverless truck there. They'll have to do that with no driver.
Yeah. I mean that's definitely part of the mission, is transporting it, but the other guys are also trying to protect
Each
know,
other,
the,
yeah,
the
in the
cargo.
back, right.
So, and in many cases, some of those supplies are critical to the frontline soldiers. So, you know, my hat's off to all of the veterans who served in the various wars and campaigns, and my job is really a privilege to serve these service men and women who have, you know, given their best to our country.
I'd like to mention one thing. I had the honor, and I use the word honor, of going on an honor flight. But you said you have people in the Chelsea Soldiers Home. Tell us about the Soldiers Home, the new one who's in charge there, the new lady. what it's like, and the two that do go on the honor flight every year, you say?
From what I understand, I think it was the last year or the year before, we had 2 World War II veterans
Right.
who went on the honor flight to Washington, D.C., and they are residents of the Chelsea Soldiers Home, which is really the Massachusetts Soldiers Home in Chelsea,
For the whole,
because there's a Holyoke one also. And you know, it's kind of interesting when you run into them and you hear the stories of how it was back then. And you really, you know, when I talk to my kids and I tell them I was born in a world that didn't have internet or cell phones, they look at me like, you know, you want to...
I was born in a world where they didn't even have a radio at the time.
Yeah, so it's a privilege to be able to interact with guys from that generation. And the Soldiers Home, currently, the current, is it commissioner or?
Francisco?
No, Cheryl Poppy.
Cheryl. Yep.
You know, Cheryl Poppy Lucier. If I, you know, hopefully I didn't
Yep. I've tried to
pronounce
get
it.
Cheryl to come on our TV show.
Yeah,
but
well, you know, unfortunately with her, while she was doing a great job at the Soldiers Home in Chelsea, she actually had to go out and cover the Holyoke. So she was in many ways in charge of both Soldiers Home at the same time, even though they did have a lead here in Chelsea. And now, after all of those months of doing
she's
great
back
work
here?
out, yeah, she just got back, I think about a month or so ago. So definitely reach out to her again. And I'm sure that you know, if she's doesn't have her hands too full, I'm sure that she'd be open to coming out. But one of the great things about Cheryl and the Soldiers Home is that they have a great relationship with our department, and we've been working together on various events like the Veterans Cruise that you participated in.
I want to get into that next with you.
But also too, you know, one of the things that the VSO here in Chelsea, Nick Bua, championed was the Purple Heart Vietnam Veterans commemoration on August 7th.
Right.
And it actually had such a huge impact. We wanted to do something in Chelsea as well to honor the Vietnam veterans. And actually on October 16th, at I believe it's Malone Park, which is the park right next to the Soldiers Home, there's going to be a commemoration stone and plaque being placed for the veterans there in the community. And I'd like to take all the credit for it, but the truth is, it was the Soldiers Home, their staff, their volunteers who participated and helped with the Revere event that decided to sort of put all this together. Of course, I've attended the meetings and we've brainstormed, but really it's just one of the many examples of how the Soldiers Home in Chelsea has really made a great effort to be part of the community, get the veterans more involved, and recognize them for the service that they've provided our great nation.
I got to tell you, Francisco, you're a great asset, not only to Chelsea, but to the veterans, because you did not hog credits. Now, there's a lot of things veterans do, but someone else takes the credit for them, and you just passed out the credit to all the ones that deserve it, and that is great. So I want to say thank you for that. Now I want to say thank you for what you did for the Winter Hill Yacht Club. You organized something for the veterans that was really very rare. It was the first time for me, and it was an honor for me and another World II veteran from Revere, Charlie Mackin.
Yeah, great guy.
World War II and Korea deserves too. Thank you for your service, Charlie.
Yeah, amen.
Tell us how you first got started with that, because that was fantastic.
Well, really, what I tend to find is that the position of being Director of Veteran Services is a great opportunity to build bridges. And I was, the Chelsea Rotary Club actually reached out to me and said that they were working with the Winter Hill Yacht Club to try to put together an event for the veterans. And he wanted to know my opinion and get some information. And I said, you know what? It sounds like a great idea. The Winter Hill Yacht Club, their members donate use of their private yachts and boats.
And they pay for it all.
Yeah, well, the thing is, what was impressive is how much it costs just to fill a tank on one of these ships. It's
I have no idea.
it's a pretty penny, and to have 15, 20 ships out there taking veterans from the Winter Hill Yacht Club all the way out through Boston Harbor.
Castle Island we went to.
Yep. And then going around and bringing them back. It's a great event. It's a great event, not so much just because we're taking them out, but in recognizing these veterans. Of course, the Navy guys tend to like it the most, we try to, unfortunately.
So do the Army guys, and so do the Marines. Believe you me, we had them in our boat.
Absolutely. But when they approached me, I didn't anticipate how it would grow to include veterans from Revere, veterans from Winthrop, from Somerville.
We had 2 from Lynn.
Yes, and 2 from Lynn, and it keeps growing. Unfortunately, we're limited by the amounts of ships and the club itself. But I think it's a beautiful recognition of how community groups such as the Chelsea Rotary Club, the Winter Hill Yacht Club, how they sort of just brainstormed this idea, brought it to me, and I was sort of like the conduit to bring the guys and say, hey, look, these guys are okay. They're trying to put together something for us, and often I get questions about how much does it cost, and it's free, completely free, and it's just in gratitude and thanks for your honorable service, and it's pretty awesome. It's a great event.
You're right. And by the way, I have to say you did a fantastic, great job with But on our boat, and I believe you was on the boat with us.
Yes.
There was a helicopter pilot, and I wish I could remember him. He flew during the war, but he flew a helicopter. He was a Navy pilot.
Oh yeah. The one who was talking about the fishing trips.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't.
I forgot his name. I got it home. But I would like you to mention the people from the yacht club, including yourself, who organized that, because we got to say thank you to them on TV because they did a great job.
They did a great job.
The only one I remember, excuse me, Francisco, is Joe Basile. Does that name ring a bell?
I don't remember.
Well, that was a name that was given to me, but that is the only one I remember. And you know why I remember that? Because there's an accordion player with the same name.
All right.
That's the only reason I remember it.
Okay.
So you can spill it out now.
Well, the Winter Hill Yacht Club, and they put on a great event. The guys get breakfast. We go out on a wonderful tour of the Boston Harbor.
Through the locks.
Yes, all the way through and back. And then they provide a great lunch. There's representation there from the National Guard. I think those were Vermont National Guard Rangers.
Yep.
That came through. And
there was a lieutenant colonel there and a captain.
Absolutely. And then also, too, the veteran that you're referring to, it happens often where a veteran sees a need, and instead of waiting for someone to find the solution, he provides the solution, and he takes these veterans on fishing trips through New York, New Hampshire, all over the place.
Right.
And the yacht club actually made a donation to him, and so that he can continue and even actually put on more events. I'm not a big fisher myself, or better said, the few times I've tried, I don't really get anything. But it's great that there's events.
I have
for the
to
guys.
tell you this. The one thing I liked about it, and I was there thanks to you, and I got to mention 2 people. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. There's a beautiful lady by the name of Pamela Anderson from Revere.
Absolutely.
And a handsome-looking gentleman, Rick Labadini from Revere. And they do so much for the veterans. Volunteers is what they are. And nobody ever gives them any credit, but they deserve the most. I mean, they're what I like to call the unsung heroes. The ones that nobody really knows about, but they do more than the ones that people do know about.
Yes.
So I want to say thank you, Pamela, and
Thanks,
thank
Pam.
you, Rick.
And thank you, Rick. I met them a few years back.
Oh, you know them both pretty good?
Yes, and you know, when we and the way I met them was the VSO here, Nick Boer. He started a monthly food distribution.
Right, him and Donna Dreesen.
Yep, and yes, Donna. And it's in collaboration with the Greater Boston Food Bank.
Right.
And what it comes down to is we recognized that a lot of the elderly veterans live on a fixed income, but they needed access to a better quality of food than what was normally provided at the food bank, which is a lot of canned goods. So they worked out and got a grant, and then they approached the veteran service officers, and we put together, well, Nick started it here in Revere, and now it's branched out to cover all of the veterans.
East Boston, Chelsea too?
Winthrop.
You mean they have
Nahant,
they have their own food bank?
Chelsea, all of those communities get it from Revere.
Oh,
So they all the food comes on one day. Nick distributes it, and it actually impacts probably, you know, close to 1,000 veteran and family members in the area.
that's good because, you know, Nick, he's a young man, so he's got plenty of years left to stay out to the veterans.
Yeah.
So, Nick, if you're listening, you do a terrific, terrific job.
Absolutely.
So make sure you stay on at least as long as I'm here with the veterans.
And that's how I met Pamela and Rick. Every time I would show up to get the food for Chelsea, they will be there volunteering. Every month after month, year after year, and it's impressive to see how many people are committed to make sure that these veterans get the services that they need.
By the way, we have a gentleman, and I do have to mention that. Maybe you know him. He couldn't go. We wanted to take him on the boat ride, but he's 103 years old. He doesn't get around much. Salvatore Santoro.
Okay.
Maybe you know him. He goes to the Soldiers' Home every Wednesday for lunch, but he usually comes to our senior center. I don't know why he even bothers going to the Chelsea Soldiers' Home for lunch when we have the best lunches in the Commonwealth. I wanted to make sure I got that in. Only joking, so
Yeah.
Chelsea Soldiers Home. Only joking, folks. So anyway, he does say that the food is there is good. But now, this is a question I will ask you about the Chelsea. Do you have to live in the Chelsea Soldiers Home to go to the lunch, or can any veteran go down there during lunchtime?
Well, from what I understand, and of course, you know, there's resource limitations to every program. From what I understand, the cafeteria itself and the services, the food services there, are for residents only.
Right, but they can bring a guest too. Can the like, let's say you're visiting.
But at times, if you're a visitor,
Yeah.
you know, you can go to the main building, and there is
And get a voucher or something.
and there's a voucher, you know, and I'm sure that, you know, they're open to any veteran who, in a case of an emergency or something. But mostly it's for the residents,
Right.
and from time to time some visitors and guests. And you know, after each Memorial Day, people are invited up to the cafeteria and see how the food is. And I have to admit, it's actually improved quite a bit, and it's not bad. Cheeseburger Day is my favorite. So
Right, now, we have Veterans Day coming on, well, October will be here soon among
Yes.
us. And we have November, which is the Veterans. Does Chelsea have anything planned for the Veterans Day?
yes, we do. On November 11th of this year, we're going to have our annual Veterans Day commemorative event at the Chelsea Senior Center, which is on 10 Riley Way in Chelsea, which is right behind the fire station and right next to City Hall. And you know, that's a collaborative effort. You know, DPW is a huge asset to us in helping us get ready. Tracy Nowicki, who's the director of the senior center there, who's done a great job, especially in making her building space available so that we can use it for our monthly food distribution. For our Veterans Day event.
Right.
She's really great, and the staff over there has been very supportive. So it's open to all, whether you're a Chelsea resident, Revere veteran, or
It's open
resident.
to all veterans or open to all?
All.
So veteran and non-veteran?
Yeah, veteran and non-veteran. Veterans Day, 2011. I believe we're going to start at 10, and usually we're done about 11:30, and then we have a nice lunch. And it's open to everybody to come and visit us.
Excuse me, we got about 2 minutes. Take a minute and a half and wrap it up, and then just leave me a few seconds.
You know, I know you've asked me to come out a few times, and
It
all
was,
I
it's
can.
an honor. I still say it was great to get you. It was an honor what you did for us at the Winter Hill Yacht Club. So it's our honor and revere to have you come here, not us there.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. But really, it's more of an honor for me to have the opportunity to really talk about how, you know, people like Pam and Rick and Nick, you know, Donna.
There's
Sorry,
another gentleman
Donna.
down there.
She's, you know, beyond words on when it comes to helpful. I don't know how she coordinates all those communities and all that, all those resources, but. You know, to me, it's my honor to come out here and say thank you to each and every one of them for everything they do. And I don't know how they do it, but they seem to make it look easy.
Right. We have some great people in the city of Revere. We have a new mayor, Brian Arrigo, who does a great job for the community and the veterans as well. So I want to say thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a great director at our senior center who does things for veterans and seniors. And by the way, if you have a lot of seniors in Chelsea that would like to join the Revere Senior Center a few times, bring them on down.
All right.
We'd love to have them.
Okay.
Okay. And Francisco, sometimes you could stop by and tell us exactly at the Revere Senior Center a little about your veterans to bring down a few yourself.
Okay.
But they got to be over 60.
Oh, well.
Okay, that's what I want to say. So, Francisco, I got to say it was an honor and a pleasure to have you come up here.
I appreciate
May God
it.
bless you, and thank you for your service, by the way.
you.
Thank you. And I want to thank the city of Revere, all our veterans and military here and abroad. God bless our great country, the United States of America, but most of all, keep the Pledge of Allegiance in the school and in public places. Do not take it out. That's what this gentleman and I fought for, to make sure the American flag represents the whole nation. Other flags represent individual parts, but the American flag represents the whole nation. Thank you.
Thank you.